So I think it's going to be fun to watch. But moving on to one of the few AFC teams that is not good, I get into our bum of the week segment. It is the entirety of the Broncos. I mean, this segment we've like vaguely done it the past couple weeks by just talking about who's a bum, but now it's an official thing, bum of the week. The idea is to just be like, hey, it's this one player who made a massive mistake and cost the game and is just playing horribly. But this week it's just the Broncos because they suck. The Panthers scored 23 points. Are you kidding me right now? Are you serious right now? The Panthers that have no coach, no quarterback, no running back, no receivers outside DJ Moore, a mediocre defense, and a mediocre offensive line. They scored more points than every other team they've played this season besides the Raiders on them. So the Broncos are bums this week. They're the bums of the week. And you know what? I'm gonna give a little social media plug right here. We have a Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. It's Sportsball Talk 3. But I posted a TikTok today talking about how Geno Smith and Russell Wilson are the exact same quarterback. And this is not meant to be a little Geno Smith hate session. It's meant to be a Russell Wilson hate session, but Geno Smith's kind of going to get dogged here a little bit. Both of these quarterbacks are very good in Seattle and horrible outside of Seattle. I don't think that Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. I don't think that he deserved an MVP ever because there's always a point in the season where it's like, oh, Russell Wilson's playing good, let Russ cook, he's going to be MVP this year. And then he throws 10 interceptions in one game and doesn't get it. He never deserved an MVP either. None of those seasons did he play the best was he the best player compared to any other team, any other player in the league. Super Bowl ring, Legion of Boom. I'm not going to give that to Russell Wilson. But I'm also not going to give his success to himself, which sounds dickish, but it seems like it's just the Seahawks offense. Because Geno Smith, as much as people love him and say he's a good quarterback, he was horrible until he started playing for the Seahawks this year and started. And now he's playing great. So it is the Seahawks that are the good franchise, the good coaching staff, good everything. It is not Russell Wilson that was good in Seattle. It was Seattle that was good to Russell Wilson. It is now being good to Geno Smith. He has been with the Broncos for more than a few months. I was going to say a few months, but nearly a year, I guess, at this point. Not full year. You know what I mean. And he currently has less passing touchdowns than he has bathrooms in his house because he is horrible. And I understand the Broncos have, I think, the most injuries in terms of starting players of any team in the NFL. But even at the beginning of the season when they didn't have all these injuries, when Javonte Williams was still playing, when Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton were both super healthy, they were still losing games and still not like being garbage. Efficient. Yeah, they play like garbage. And so you have this team that has an incredible defense still. They are very rarely allowing more than 18 points a game. If they had like an average offense right now, they would be like 9-1 or 8-2 or something right now. But the Broncos suck, and they played horribly against the Panthers because that is a bum team. It's one of those teams that you don't understand why they win games when they do. But they beat the Broncos, and I guess it's not that surprising because the Broncos suck. But it is frustrating. Not as a Broncos fan, but as someone who knows Broncos fans, it's like, yeah, you just paid all this money and spent all these draft picks to get this guy that's horrible. He's not good. He's not playing well for you guys. He's just garbage.
Yeah. You got to kind of hope that Cleveland doesn't have the same thing going on with John Watson, not to go back to that, but those are two teams that kind of went all in for a quarterback this year and doesn't look like it's paying off so far. And yeah, I agree with you though, Ethan. I think that Russell Wilson maybe deserves bum of the week. I think his play has been absolutely atrocious, and there's no excuse for that when you're getting paid as much as you are, and have the expectations that you do. Like this was supposed to be the Broncos year, and he's not doing that. We knew coming in Cleveland that there was a possibility Deshaun Watson wouldn't play well. That's a whole nother story. But, I think that when you have the expectations of not only an entire city, an entire state, there's an entire Russell Wilson fan base.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Yeah. Exactly, and they are not riding this year at all. They're doing the opposite of that.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. I don't want to sound like LeBron James and say I predicted something that there's no way I could have predicted. But going into the season, I think I talked to a few of you guys about it in the office this past summer. I know I talked about it to a few of you guys. I don't know if you guys heard it, but you can confirm that I did it whenever I say my piece. I said before the season that I didn't think the Broncos were going to be that good, not because they didn't have the talent, but because I think that it takes time to build chemistry as a team, and clearly we're seeing that with Russell Wilson. He has no chemistry with his team, and I thought that they were going to finish either last or second to last in the AFC West and miss the playoffs, and that's exactly what's happening. I don't think I intended with my prediction that they would get 3 or 4 wins all season, but I did not think that they were going to be a 12-win team like a lot of people thought they were going to be going into the season just because they got Russell Wilson. And especially since then, that there's been a lot of information come out from Seahawks players that were teammates of his about how bad of a teammate he was, and so that all goes into it. I mean, there's nothing about being a quarterback that is just how good you are at being a quarterback. It is your skill. It is how good you can communicate with teammates, how good of friends you are, how much they respect you, your off-the-field issues if you have any. It's all these different things that go into making you a good, successful quarterback because you need everything to be on your side. Like, a good quarterback can only do so much. If you gave Patrick Mahomes high school receivers and throw him in the NFL, he would not win more than 5 games a season. It's not because of any lack of skill on his end, but it's because of the whole team around him. So the quarterback is dependent on a lot of moving pieces to be good, but nearly everyone in the NFL is there for a reason. They are good to some degree. They are better than 99.9% of people in the world at football. So there's not really an excuse there, but he has no chemistry. It's not like there's a lack of skill on that team because everyone there is good to some degree. It's just that he is not playing well, and Broncos country is not writing, and I don't really care because I'm not a Broncos fan. I feel very neutral. They're probably like very middle of the pack for me because of how much I like or dislike teams. But as someone who likes the NFL and likes good teams, like I said a minute ago, I love when there's just a ton of good teams. The Broncos are not on that list, and so they are the fat bums of the week. Gian, go and give your comments. I know you have something to say about this buffoon, Russell Wilson.
I came into the season thinking, and I can't confirm you did say that in the office, just because I completely disagreed with you. I was like, are you kidding me? Russell Wilson, he's got a phenomenal receiving core, great running back core, probably arguably top 5 defense. No, the entire team are bums, and there, like you said, there's no chemistry, and talk about a lack of leadership. Like, nobody on the team respects him. We saw that this weekend when you had a lineman just go up to him and just yelling at Russ. This team is not clicking together. I don't know if it's the coaching. All I know is that Russ is a key factor in this, and he is just not performing. Maybe that injury that he had to his hand last year really did hurt, really did affect his playability. That's what I'm assuming is a possibility, but I don't know what it is. Russ is an absolute bum. I'm sorry, but he is not performing at all what we were all expecting. Russell Wilson, you had weapons. I remember reading reports in training camp. Jerry Jeudy, unguardable. Cortland Sutton's going to be back. Speedster for the Broncos. Deep threat. And those two type of players are the players that he had over in Seattle. He had monster speedster in Tyler Lockett. He had a great pass catcher in DK Metcalf. These guys are similar. They're not the same. That's not to say they're the same, but like you have your 1-2 punch. No, he can't use them. He's unable to use them. I don't know what it is, but let me tell you, I can't stand Russell Wilson and I can't stand the Broncos. There were so many Thursday night football games that I had to sit there watching the TV just drooling because of how slow and how terrible the play was. And this isn't just this week. This week is just icing on the cake. It's just been all season.
That's the other piece of it. It's not like they're just a bad team, but they're also really boring to watch. Like, they're not fun. It's not even like they're taking deep shots and trying to make something happen and all this other stuff. They're just boring. There's nothing interesting about watching a Broncos game, and they also suck. It's like teams that are boring but are good. It's like, okay, yeah, it's annoying to watch you, but like, hey, you're a 11 to 12 win team this year. So like, hey, I can't, say anything negative about you because you're winning games, and that's what it takes is being boring. Then yeah, hey, you go win a Super Bowl. But they're boring and they're bad. And the other thing that we need to talk about is their coach.
How much of it do you think is coaching? Yeah,
yes, coaching, because they brought in this offensive guru from Green Bay. Green Bay's offensive coordinator is their new head coach, and I mean, he's horrible. Like, I don't want to blame this all on one person. It is that's why we have Broncos as a whole, as a bum, because it's not just Russell Wilson. It's also the play calling from the coach. He is horrible. There are some times when offensive coordinators are really good, and then they just go be a coach and it doesn't work out. And I think this is one of those cases because he's just not good. He is not making good calls. He's not using the strengths, like you said, the skills that Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton have. He's not utilizing those to the best of their ability. And, of course, some of it's on Russell Wilson not being able to make these throws and having the awareness around him that he needs to not take sacks and things like that. But it is also the play calling, because if you call a good play and your offensive line gives you time, then Russell Wilson can make that throw. As much as I don't like Russell Wilson and I don't think he's that great of a quarterback, he's good enough to be in the NFL and have a starting job and get paid $200 million a year. And he's won a Super Bowl and he's been in MVP conversations. So he's good enough to make throws. But this season, he's not playing that well. And the play calling is horrible. So there's a lot of things wrong with this Broncos team. I think in the offseason they need to make a big coaching change. I don't think they need to give up on Russell Wilson just yet because they've invested so much money into him. I think that you change the coaching, see if that fixes it, and then if not, you got to get rid of Russell Wilson and go ahead and invest in your next franchise quarterback, because if he's still bad with another offensive play caller, then it's him. He was good with Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll's also one of the greatest coaches of all time, in the 21st century. So that's a little bit different than your average run-of-the-mill coach and average run-of-the-mill quarterback, things like that. So we're probably going to talk about this Broncos team again. I'm going to try not to double up on Bum of the Week with using the same person or same team each week. But if the Broncos do something again like they did this past week against the Panthers, then they're going to come back up. But